Hello and welcome. My name's George, and my channel is all about helping you get the most out of the Logic Pro so that you can record and produce your best music in your home studio. Today, we're going to be talking all about audio interfaces and what to look for if you're in the market for a new interface or your very first audio interface. So let's dive in. Okay, so if you're new to the home studio world, just a little refresher or a recap of what audio interface is and actually does. So an audio interface simply lets you record audio into your computer as well as hear audio back from your computer. So you can plug in things such as microphones or keyboards and guitars directly into your audio interface. And then that audio interface is going to convert the signal from analog to digital so that it can pass into your computer. And then it also converts the signal from digital back to analog when you're listening to it, either through your monitor speakers or through your headphones. So it just acts as a way to get a signal in and out of your computer, basically. For starters, let's talk a little bit about connectivity. So this is the way that your audio interface will hook up to your computer. Now, one of the ways we previously hooked up our audio interfaces was using what's called FireWire, and that is largely discontinued now. However, you can still buy some audio interfaces with FireWire. So if you come across one of those, I suggest you don't buy them. Any new Mac out there no longer comes with FireWire, and most of the companies that used to produce these audio interfaces are no longer supporting them. So, once the Mac OS gets updated more and more, then they stop getting supported less and less to the point where the OS doesn't recognize those interfaces anymore. So particularly if you're looking at getting a interface secondhand, if someone's trying to sell you one that's FireWire, best to stay away from that. The gear itself is still great, but it's just the support is no longer there. Now, USB, on the other hand, that's something that's been around for a long time now, and I don't see that going anywhere. So you can safely purchase any audio interface that has USB and know that it's going to work for a while now. The same goes for a lot of the new Thunderbolt audio interfaces. Most of them will be backwards compatible with USB as well, so you don't have to be too worried about that. If you are looking at purchasing an older interface or model, then I would first go to the manufacturer website and go look at the drivers and see when the last time they put one out was. If it's been, 5 or more years, then you can safely assume that they're probably not putting out any new drivers. And you'll also be able to check which operating system is currently supported for that audio interface. For example, my first audio interface I got was a FireWire ProFire 2626 by M Audio. And if you go looking for the drivers on their site, you'll first see all the interfaces that they currently produce, but the ProFire is not listed here. You have to go to Legacy, and then you'll find it here. So if the interface falls under the Legacy tab, then it's a safe bet that they're no longer supporting that interface. Okay, so that's the one major thing that you want to avoid. Now, what do you want to look for? So the biggest thing is really to ask yourself, how many inputs are you going to need simultaneously? So how many different things are you going to be recording at once? If this interface is mainly for yourself and you're going to be recording one thing at a time, then you might only need one input. Let's say you just have one microphone and you want to record your vocal while you're going to record that one at a time, right? But if you're also adding, let's say, acoustic guitar, well, then you might want to consider recording in stereo with two microphones. With acoustic guitar, you can get a nice rich sound using two microphones. So in that case, you're going to need two inputs. The same thing if you're recording piano or a keyboard, you're probably going to want that in stereo. So you're going to want at least two inputs for that. Now, if you're a drummer or you want to record a whole band, then you're obviously going to need more. In the case of the drums, you're generally going to have one mic for each piece of the drum. So the kick drum will get its own mic, the snare drum will get its own mic, the toms might get their own mic, and you'll probably have a pair of overheads above as well. Now, you can get away with recording drums with as little as one or two mics, but generally I like to have a minimum of four for kick, snare, and overheads, and you can easily go up from there. So take some time to think about that and think about how you'll be using it and how many things you'll be recording simultaneously. Now, one thing to be aware of is preamps and inputs are a little bit different. And just because an interface says it has four inputs doesn't necessarily mean you can hook up four microphones to it. I pulled up all the audio interfaces currently for sale at sweetwater.com. And if we go to, let's say, the M Audio M4, which is a very popular audio interface, it says it's a 4-in, 4-out audio interface. And if we look more closely at it, we have two preamps on the front. So preamps allow us to plug in our microphones, and they allow us to boost the signal of those microphones. You'll see these little gain knobs here. That's what allows us to boost the signal. Without it, you're going to get very quiet signal that's almost inaudible and really will not be useful at all. So we need this preamp to help bring that signal up to a nice and healthy level. So as I mentioned, there's two of those on the front, so we can record two microphones simultaneously. And you'll also notice these jacks here. These are what are called combo jacks. So you can plug in both an XLR cable, which is like this for a microphone, but you can also plug in a patch cable or quarter-inch jack like you would use for an electric guitar. So you could plug your guitar directly in here and then use virtual amps such as the ones found in Logic Pro. So you can record electric guitar without needing to actually mic up a real amp. And this is really handy in a home studio environment where you can, blast electric guitar wearing headphones and not bother anyone else in the house or next door. So now if we look at the back of this audio interface, here we'll see two line ins. So these are the other two inputs that they're mentioning out of the four. These are not preamps, so we cannot hook up a microphone directly to these line inputs. We could, however, plug in an electric keyboard, for example, because the volume knob on that keyboard will help drive enough gain into those line inputs. So if that's part of your workflow, let's say, you're going to use two microphones, but you also have an electric keyboard you want to record, well, then this would be great because you can use the preamps for your mics and the line inputs for your electric keyboard. So preamps and inputs, that's one of the main things you want to look at when you're looking at getting a new audio interface, and making sure that you don't get confused between the word input and preamps. So specifically, know how many preamps there are on that interface and how many you'll actually need. Now, the other thing that sometimes get overlooked is how many headphone outputs are you going to need? Most audio interfaces come with just the one. And if you're working alone and just recording yourself, well, then that's totally fine. You're probably not going to need more than one headphone. But however, if you're also going to be recording other people, have people coming over to your space and helping to record some guitar or horns or whatever it is to add to your song, well, then you're probably going to want two headphones so that you can listen to what's being recorded as well as whoever is doing the playing so they can hear as well. So the M4, for example, there's just the one headphone jack on the front here. But if we go to the M6, now you'll notice there's two headphone outputs right here. So that allows yourself and someone else to both be listening to the track while recording. So that's really handy if you foresee yourself recording someone else as well. And just to piggyback on what I was saying before, here you see it says 6 in and 4 out. So the 6 inputs are the 4 microphone preamps here, plus 2 line inputs. Now, another thing you might want to think about is whether or not you want to use your audio interface with your iPad, for example, if you have one, and if you see yourself doing some work on the iPad. So you'll want to make sure that it's compatible. And one of the ways to check is to see if the audio interface is class compliant. So this means that you don't actually need a audio driver installed to run the audio interface. Now, most manufacturers will recommend that you do, but this also means that you can simply plug it in to your computer or your iPad and it'll recognize it. Now, if we take a quick look at some of the more popular interfaces out there, you'll notice that they range a lot in price, from $100 to $1,000 and up. So you can essentially spend as much money as you want. Now, in the case of the universal audio ones, these are great interfaces, but a lot of what you're paying for are the plugins that come with the interface. These interfaces allow you to run a lot of the universal audio plugins directly from the audio interface. So they're not taking up processing power from your computer. The audio interface is handling that. So that helps alleviate a lot of that processing power from your computer and allows you to use plugins as you're recording directly. So a lot of people like that. However, you can see that you're paying a premium for that, but they are a great unit regardless. Now, in comparison to the Motu and the Focusrites, for example, so you're not getting any plugins or DSP with those. So in the case of those interfaces, you would add all your effects in Logic or your DAW. So that's something to think about too. If you're a diehard universal audio person and use all their plugins, then that might be the route you want to go. If you use a lot of built-in plugins from Logic or some other third-party ones, then you're probably fine getting an audio interface without the onboard effects. I will mention there is the Universal Audio Volt interface, and you can see here it's quite a bit cheaper than any of the other ones, and that's because this one does not come with any of those plugins. So there is still a universal audio option, just without the plugins bundled into the audio interface itself. So as far as quality goes, you really can't go wrong with any of the popular brands such as Focusrite, Motu, Universal Audio. In the $100 to $300 range, you're kind of going to be getting the very similar set of features, and sound quality is going to be very comparable. You know, people can nitpick over the sound quality of one over the other, but in reality, they're all very comparable. When you're getting in $1,000 and above, then this is where you can argue that you're getting some higher quality digital and analog conversion. But when you're first starting out, don't overthink it, and you can certainly get some great results with those cheaper audio interfaces. So I hope you found that helpful. If you have any additional questions about audio interfaces, please feel free to leave those in the comments below. And if you want to improve your workflow in Logic Pro, don't forget to download my Ultimate Logic Pro Starter Pack. This includes my Logic Pro hotkey cheat sheet, my audio recording guide, my mixing guide, my gear guide, and my Logic Pro session templates. I hope you enjoyed the video, and we'll see you in the next one.